I like to move on to one of my favorite things, because hopefully there's a bit of fun in here, which is analogical deduction. In other words, one of the questions we can raise too is that this Islamic law, which was established over 1400 years ago in terms of its textual sources at least, how is that still relevant today in America, in the West, wherever? Here it has to have, any law whose characteristic is that it must have some kind of mechanism of renewal. Yeah? It must have some kind of mechanism of renewal. Otherwise it's just going to die in history. Yeah? Ijtihad is one of them. We'll come back to that in a minute. But one of the primary ways is this situation with analogical deduction or qiyas. We just call it analogy for now to make things nice and simple. In other words, the idea is I have something which I have a ruling for. It's a traditional case. It's a case that's known, a case that is established. And then what I want to do with it, I want to apply the same ruling to a new case which is similar, is analogous. Yeah? Here then, what legal scholars did is that they came up with a kind of structure for this. They called them the pillars of analogy, or Arkan al Qiyas. The first thing that you've got to have, of course, is an original case to compare to. If you haven't got that, we're already done. We can't apply analogy. That original case must have a ruling. Yeah? So you have a case and its ruling is well known. Then, what you must have is your objective analogy, the new case. Yeah? For the want of a similar term. But the thing that is critical in reality is something that we might refer to as the common factor between both cases, or al-illah. Yeah? The common factor between both cases. Because if you can't find the common factor, then you can't make qiyas. In other words, what is the reasoning behind a ruling? If I can find the reasoning behind our ruling, and find the same reasoning in a new ruling, then I can apply the same thing to both. Let's give some examples. They're silly examples, and you might say, why is he going through all this trouble? But nevertheless, just to illustrate some points. Let's say that we want to know if whiskey is haram or not, forbidden. Whiskey, yani Scotch. Scotch whiskey, yeah. Let me make it clear. Okay? Okay, Scotch whiskey. I need to ask the question because it is in the Quran. Scotch whiskey in the Quran? Johnny Walker's? No. It's not. Probably. No, it's not. Just historically more than anything. It's only 1800 since he started doing that stuff. Okay, and the hadith, there's a hadith, Scotch whiskey is haram. Don't drink Johnny Walker's. No, there's no hadith like this. Of course not. However, is there an analogous situation in the Quran or hadith? Wine is mentioned in the Quran. Okay? So, theoretically, we could try and make an analogy between wine and Scotch whiskey. And we should bear in mind here also, quite subtly, perhaps that the Arabs were familiar with two types of wine. Yeah? Date and grape. Yeah? Date and grape. Yeah. Grapes actually, you think about desert, it's not that common. They're more likely to drink dead wine in reality. Yeah? Okay? But they were familiar with both. They used to season them with herbs and spices. You know, that was their thing. And they loved to drink, by the way. The pre-Islamic Arabs. They loved to drink. It was one of their greatest pastimes. You know? Here, we have wine mentioned in the Quran. The word in Arabic is Khamar. Yeah, Khamar. And what's interesting about the word Khamar, in actual fact, it means to cover up. Yeah? means to cover up. It's not wine per se. The word as a meaning in its semantic context is to cover up something. Yeah? That's why a woman's headscarf, I mean, we call it hijab. Hijab is a concept, actually. It's not a piece of clothing. A woman's headscarf is called khimar because it covers her head. And the idea here is that khamar, wine, is like that because it interferes and covers your intellect and your thinking, your rational ability to discern. Right? Okay? Here then, this is our original case. The original ruling would be forbidden. Forbidden and foreboding.